Testes. Testes. 1, 2, 3. Testes. Check, 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 check. Bass, 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 bass. How low can you go? What a brother know. Once again back is the incredible. Hey, 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 hey. Bass, 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 bass. How about that?
Revelation through conversation.
Maybe that's a little low. Uh-oh.
Underrated voice in all media. Chuck Ochelli.
Microphone coming across clear. Other sound not so much. Check 1, 2, check. Looks like I'm proud and loud, but music is not flowing. What do we got here? Uh-oh. What did we do? Hey. Uh-oh. Music is playing, but it's not cutting through like it should. Uh-oh. Force multiplier manual. Play. Hey, there it is. Check, check, check. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Now I'm way too goddamn loud. And check, check, check. We're supposed to be live with the show, but minor technical difficulty holding me up just a moment here, guys. But I will make it all happen. Let's see. What can I put on here just to give me a testing level, some kind of indicator? Let me grab a piece of music that is copyright free, because to hell with it. We'll leave this stuff all intact and let you guys listen to whatever the hell it is I'm running.
Soon from the ashes, reborn chaotically.
Appears as though I've got a serious fade issue. I've got a bit of extra loud and an inconsistency in a connection, which is causing my microphone to be extremely hot. I got a wire out of the way, and I thought I took care of it last night, and I did get through the show with Mike and Carmine live, but right now I'm testing live as things are not going smoothly. Let's see. Can we smooth out the audio issue right here and now? It looks like we can. All right, now, if that is a fairly well-balanced piece of audio, let's see what happens when. Let's grab another piece of music. It'll give me some dynamic idea, maybe. But then again, it's out of Aaron's weird bucket of tunes, so let's see. Probably should put something on that hits a little harder. Bring the microphone down a touch on the digital. You can always fade the music down like so as well while I'm talking over it. Okay, that appears to be all sliding okay. And we'll grab one more little piece of music. I need something else besides this, because this is not going to give me an indication. Now, I did have some death metal up there. Do I have another death metal track ready and waiting in the wings? I don't think I do. Let's go get a Sears minor cut. I know I got those hanging around. Let's see, go to the desktop, and where's my network stuff, as I'm just talking out loud, and I know we're late, but we are going to be live here Friday night, open mic. This is happening again on the, I believe it's the 3rd day of April, 2024, allegedly, according to that thing we call a calendar. And now I'm going to do my bad impression of myself doing my bad impression of Alex Jones, just to entertain you, while I set up and assure you that we will have a live show, and I will be grabbing my co-host B. Pete to join me momentarily as we get ready to rock it, baby. And I do a little Wolfman Jack Now, some of you youngins got no idea who the hell that was, but let's get it on, baby, because this is the way it rolls from WNBC here in New York City. How about that? And how about Cirrus Minor? We'll skip through the track to get an idea of dynamic music on Ochelli.com radio. This is how the rock and roll capital of your mind rocks, rolls, sways and ways and bangs all over the wavy gravy that is reality on the radio. Ochelli.com. Revelation through conversation.
I wouldn't make it a habit calling me that thing.
Yeah, the live open mic will begin momentarily here at the only place where revelation for conversation and all that good stuff cries out across the nation. Ochelli.com radio. I believe we're all tested, and I'm going to go and get my co-host B. Pete. Stick around, because the sound is about to get ground round.
Let 'em know. Let 'em know. Let 'em know. Got to let them know. I'm bringing all shock like I'm K-Rock, sipping Bud Light at the drag show. I'm bringing all shock like I'm K-Rock, sipping Bud Light at the drag show. Erroneous method, the world's worst professional provocateur. Hit them like it's 2000 something and Beck is back on tour. You never really wanted me anyway. Alcohol turns me into your enemy. I'm Yosemite Sam with some Hennessy. I used to think that bottle was the remedy. Picked it up once or twice after I let it go, but finally had to let it be. I used to roll with a fat bitch. She would give me a left tip for some literacy. I mean literally, not figuratively. I mean literally. We all want chances, we take separate stances. Let them know. We learn to let it go. Oh, we take control. Couple heroes. Just a couple. It's okay if they have flaws. I wouldn't have stayed sober without Sam Tripoli Zero. Talking to Chris Graves on the pod. A month later, he's talking to Charlie Robinson on the pod. The people he influenced me. Word to Chuck Ochelli. Sorry, I haven't done it yet. I'm gonna get you those beats. But we the people's influence like drops of water in the sea. And it's sad and so plain to see that blatantly the powers that be, they've taken corruption to an incompatibility with reality. I got no problem with conspiracy becoming an industry as long as we stay hard on fact. Spread no fallacy, go forth with no malice. Casually ghost produced for years, stacking up that wise wolf gold. Ain't your average G. I'm a bastard with no mask, but the method had one long before the Rona, so don't get mad at me.
The Ochelli Effect is sponsored by WallStreetWindow.com and listeners like you.
And now, the most underrated voice in all media. Chuck Ochelli.
Already 18 minutes after the hour of 8 p.m. Eastern Time here on a Friar's Day. Guess what? It's the third day, I believe, of April 2024, allegedly according to that thing we call a calendar. And I was trying to get sound to work and trying to squeeze things together, and I had to use a full 15 minutes of time just doing that. Slightly unreliable wires, and then things not quite parsing out as they should. Anyway, do you care about this? I don't. Let's get to the let's get to the actual business of the day. We are live on this Friar's Day. We are going to take your calls if you call in. How about that? And please join us. 319-527-5016. 319-527-5016. And there I go, dipping with sound again. Yeah, okay, so we've got another bad connection among my equipment real quick. Now it's back to normal. Anyway, B. Pete is with me, my co-host, you guys out there joining me as well. And thank God it's probably just my mic that's giving me the real trouble. So that means I'll also be able to produce Aaron Franz at 10 p.m. Eastern tonight as we go forward and do 4 hours of live radio on Ochelli.com. But also, as I mentioned, my co-host B. Pete is with me. Hopefully he'll do some talking. And doesn't matter how loud I am if the mic is not loud at all, huh? Anyway, who cares? Let's not get hung up in it. You can bring up any topic you want. We can talk about the news of the day, the social issues of the year. We can get down on whatever it is that's on your mind, or we can get up on it. Up, down, sideways. Look, everybody swings their own way, don't they? And we're all going to test it out tonight and see as we have the round table of ideas tossed about. Anyway, let's get to it. Like I said, one more time. Oh, you can also join me via Skype. Charles.Ochelli on Skype. I will call you into the show if you ask me to. And that would be that, as they say in the business. 319-527-5016. Join us through the regular convention of the phone. And I'm in one of those moods tonight where really I want to hear something different. Please do anything, but don't bore me. What was that? That was like a Clint Eastwood thing in that movie. What was it called? Oh, thinking back. It's when he first came out with the voice. And he was a former Marine, right? He was a drill sergeant. And he comes around to get the recon unit ready and all that kind of good stuff. Do you remember the name of that movie, B. Pete, that Clint Eastwood movie where he came out with that and he was all of a sudden a military guy? B. Pete?
What about going to Grenada?
Wow. Okay, so B. Pete's got a connection issue. Heartbreak Ridge, I think it was called. But you're robotic. I'm having a microphone. This is going to be the way this is tonight, guys. So look, call in. You can take over the show, folks. 319-527-5016. BP, let's take another pass at it, because now I know you got a bad signal all of a sudden. Let's see if your signal improves here. But Heartbreak Ridge, it might have been called. I think that movie.
Yeah, Heartbreak Ridge. Yeah, it had, oh crap, Marcia somebody played his girlfriend.
Oh, yeah, she was like
What was her name?
Yeah, his off again, on again love interest that helps him out.
Yeah, worked at the bar. Yeah, that was a good movie. That was about our troops in Grenada.
Yeah, that's where it ended up, because he was like a special forces guy, or he was a Marine, and like a special kind of Marine who had gone in and done some dirty work earlier. I forget what war he was supposedly in, but his troops were all these like young guys who had no respect for the situation. The one guy was like a rock star or whatever, pawned his helmet, which, by the way, I've never seen that, where somebody pawns their helmet at a pawn shop when they're, in the, does that actually happen in the military where somebody pawns like I don't know.
You would be surprised what the Jacksonville police pick up from the pawn shops in Jacksonville.
Really? Huh.
From the Marine base. Yeah. I mean, it was, well, I'll give you an example. A guy that used to have about 60 gambling machines out in the country in a series of barns. He was making good money. He got busted one night. And while they were going, the other barns that he had were all full of antiques. He dealt in antiques. He would go buy a whole estate just to get the antiques out of it. And he had a good business.
Sure.
Well, they had to go in and search the barns. So they started searching all these boxes. He had just come back about a week before that from an auction. he had a box and didn't know it, but it had 3 live hand grenades in it. And it was a storage unit that he bought at a storage unit auction. Some Marine had it, live grenades in the thing. So, yeah, I mean, stuff like that turns up around military bases all the time.
Oh. Well, see, like I said, I understand the concept of, like, making your money at a flea market even, where you said the guy buys up estates. Well, people do that all the time, where it's like, look, I'll buy the contents of the house because they're selling the house, and I'm going to do you a favor. I'll come and pick up all the stuff, and I'll take everything in the house, and that way you don't got to worry about what it is. So people then go through their, deceased loved one's house or whatever, and they go, well, this is the only crap of value, and then they leave everything else. So that's dishes, drawers full of junk, whatever. And you'd be amazed at the way people will turn around and grab up all that stuff, and some of it goes online for sales, some of it goes back into another type of auction, a low-rent estate auction, right? And then again, they might find some collectible stuff that people didn't realize was worth some money here and there. And they take that to a separate place. But you can see these guys at any local flea market, almost anywhere in the country, if it's anywhere near a place where, people live and die. Guaranteed there are guys that they make a living off of taking care of, what comes out of estate sales, basically. And if you live near a retirement community, you've got year-round business. You know that. So, I'm just saying, it's one of those things that happens. And live hand grenades, though, in a box, that's great. The storage thing is another thing, by the way. People stop paying on their storage units, some of my audience probably knows this firsthand. You stop paying on your storage unit, and then they put it up there. Hey, buy the contents of this storage unit. They made a TV show out of that, didn't they?
Yeah, Storage Wars.
Storage Wars, that's what it was, yeah. So, anyway... so I'm putting in the chat room is our live number to join, 319-527-5016, all that. This is totally unplanned, so I'm not talking about, I didn't intend to talk about storage and the flea market, although I brought up the flea market on previous shows. We could discuss the news. Was there any news fit to report this week? You be the judge of that, guys. I put out a couple of podcasts. But I've got more to put out later on tonight. There's the show from last night where Carmine Savastano was on, and we discussed the death and the mythology around Sam Giancana, right? Anyway, because people often say, look, he was about ready to testify about the Kennedy case. He was off by the agency and this and that. You might want to take a listen to the evidence that Carmine finds and the discussion that we had because, and I don't want to spoil it, but you guys often know that I'm one of these, get over it. The mob did not kill Kennedy kind of guys. But anyway, you can take the discussion at face value there. Do I do that during this show? What do we cover during that show? Mike Swanson joined us, too, which is unusual because he was on last week and he's been doing every other Thursday. But Mike's not going to be around for a little while. Things are changing in the world of Mr. Swanson and what's going on. So we probably won't hear from Mike again until, at least into June, deep into June, maybe a month from now or so. Anyway, it is what it is. This is the way things are going. But topics all open any which way you want to go. So anything that's on your mind. If you want to talk to me about the latest soft drink flavor you've discovered, because they changed Sprite, by the way, if you're a Sprite drinker. They got a new version of Sprite out there. I'm hearing a lot of interesting comments about. You want to talk about junk food. You want to talk about the, I don't know what's on sale at Burger King and the Burger Wars with the restaurants and such. BP would know about that, but I don't know what's being sold out there. Maybe there's a new burger. Innovation in some way. Maybe there's a new, I know there's some sort of cupcake pizza out there, somebody told me, but I don't know anything about it. You could call in and talk about that. You could call in and talk about family issues, the plight of men in the 21st century. We can talk about whatever you want. Transgenderism, if you like. And how it's ruining everything, including your life, even if you're not a trans person. It doesn't matter. Trump, I guess we could talk about. I really don't want to, but we could. Anyway, lots of things. The selection is still happening. Joe Biden is still deranged. The economy still sucks. Plenty of things to pick from. Oh, and what do you got in the chat room there, BP, under Let's see, under B. Pete's music video of the week, it looks like Kenny Rogers. Am I mistaken?
Yeah, back during his first edition. Before it was Kenny Rogers in the first edition, it was just the first edition. So this is going back to...
Was that the 1970s, or it looks awfully 70s-ish from the picture I see?
Yeah, it was the Go-Go Boots era, and all the women backup singers had the same ridiculous-looking airline stewardess costume.
Laugh-in.
Yeah,
like
70s.
The laugh-in era of television and such, like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Anyway.
I mean, he was hip for his time, and, Kenny Rogers is not going to sell him short. He was a great entertainer, and had a lot of hits, made a lot of money. And unfortunately, had to suffer from dementia there towards the end. It's a shame. But, he was a good artist, and this was the band that he really got started in, or got his first exposure in.
Yeah, he suffered from dementia and bad plastic surgery toward the end. But actually, I appreciated Kenny Rogers quite a bit. I mean, I loved The Gambler, by the way. I always thought that was a great song, a very simple song. I know it's very blah blah and it was radio friendly and atypical for me to love something that's radio friendly, but I enjoyed it. I even enjoyed it when it was played at the bars and stuff. So let's go to our first caller. We got an unidentified caller on the line. Let's see. Let me see if I can lean over and read the area code. I can. It's a 352. And probably I'm thinking this is a repeat caller, but I don't have your name on the caller ID, so apologies. 352 area code, you're live, and bring up anything you want. We haven't even gotten into a groove yet. How you doing? Who are you? And what do you want to talk about?
You know who this is, Ochelli.
Oh, wait a minute. The voice.
This is Chris. How you doing tonight?
I'm doing okay. What's on your mind?
Since you brought it up, just to tie it into storage and Trump, which I know is one of your favorite topics. Did you hear anything about remember the illegal documents that were supposedly found in Mar-a-Lago? Did you hear that they were supposedly delivered to the Mar-a-Lago residence prior to the investigation being formed?
Okay, well, let me get this straight.
Yes.
Well, let me get this straight, because I am not up on this part of the story. What you're telling me is there's a recent revelation now that these things were delivered just before the investigation was launched. Like, in other words, somebody intentionally delivered this to him so that there would be a reason to have an investigation. Is that the conspiracy?
That would be how it sounds.
Sorry, what?
Yeah.
I said that would be how it sounds. Yes, sir.
Okay, and what is the source for this? Are we hearing this from people in the Trump camp? Is this a Fox News exclusive? What are we looking at? Where's it coming from?
I wish,
One of the members of Congress got, an email from their request of documents from the FBI.
Okay.
And over their handling of this incident. And in that email, an FBI agent is talking to someone and says, hey, remember back the GSA, who Trump always said was responsible for packing up all the documents in his office. They did that. They were sitting in D.C. or somewhere around D.C., and the GSA notified Trump's team, hey, you got to move these things. They're in our way. You've only got so much time. Get these things out of our way. So they had to arrange for them to be shipped to Mar-a-Lago. The GSA had those documents and had them for some time after Trump left office. And apparently they either didn't check them or they checked them and said, hey, he gets these things. We can go after him. So now Congress, who's overlooking what's going on with the Mar-a-Lago case, is now starting to ask questions. Wait a damn minute. Was this a setup all along? Because they have found early communications between the National Archives and Biden's DOJ offices about what they were going to do on this. An FBI agent happened to bring up, oh, wait a minute, before you guys get too far into this, remember back when you told him he had to come get his crap? So it's a very interesting twist on things now.
So what you're telling me is that what is referred to as the Government Services Administration, which to me sounds like gobbledygook and a BS title for an organization. I mean, they are an actual arm of the bureaucracy, literally is telling them to come and get their stuff, the stuff that should go to Trump post-administration. He goes and picks it up, and somebody in the FBI realizes, hey, the sooner we get him to pick this stuff up, the sooner we can actually go after him for stuff that we're sending to him. Is that about right?
Or tell him to come get his stuff, and then later on decide to go after him over the documents because they got wind that he had something or had been talking to some journalist, and they decide to go after him, forgetting that they had the things in their possession before they were the ones that told him to come get them. So it kind of defeats their whole, you tried to keep these from us, and we requested this, and you gave us nothing but a hassle. But we told you to put an extra lock on the door, which you did, but that wasn't enough because somebody decided that we need to come down here and crack on you for this. So we haven't even gotten to the convoluted story behind it, but we do know now that the GSA had, and it's pallets of boxes, not just one or two boxes, all of his stuff, because Trump has always said, hey, I wasn't responsible for that. The GSA people packed that up and shipped it, blah, blah, blah. So, well, come to find out, yeah, they did, and they had it, and they told them to come get the stuff out of their way. You got so many days.
Well, what are the chances, by the way, that we're just not looking at yet another instance of one part of the government not talking to the other part of the government and therefore, perpetuating the incompetence that is generally built into government work? Because, I mean, that's another option here. Either this is a pre-planned thing and somebody's trying to set him up, or it's a matter of one part of the government doesn't bother to rightfully communicate to another part of the government what the hell is going on with something. Is that a possibility in this scenario?
A couple lawyers that have been following this case. I mean, they write blogs and they're journalists and they've got law degrees and all. And they're looking at it and they're going, hey, this looks like a classic setup.
Okay.
But how can you go after somebody for possessing documents that you had in your possession and you told him he had to come get?
Well, it's sort of like one of those scenarios.
If he had formed a presidential library, to store them in, then maybe he'd be safeguarded. That seems to be the case.
Yeah, I mean, look.
The thing is, though, he stored them according to how they wanted, and they went down and looked at the documents at Mar-a-Lago and then called him up a couple of days afterwards and said, oh, by the way, that room that you got them in, can you put an extra lock on the door just, as a double? Okay, no problem. So they're in a facility that has the Secret Service in it, overlooking things in a double-locked room. And it was after that they decided, oh, wait, I think they got wind of what some of the documents he had. Some of them were personal letters from world leaders, and they decided, oh, that's supposed to be in the archives. And maybe that's when they decided they could build a case knowing what he had. Who knows? We'll have to see.
I mean, look, no offense to you guys, but I mean, I'm almost ready to fall asleep over this as it is. I mean, talk about a nothing. It's like, come on.
No, it's a big nothing. Yeah. It's a big nothing because it goes against the crap that you've been hearing from the mainstream media for the past 2 years.
Yeah, of course. But see, again.
Well, it's a big something because this is a frame job. I mean, I'm not trying to be biased towards, Trump or anything like that, but I mean, if you could see the level of retaliation that we've witnessed, in regards to the controlled, Mockingbird media, all the bought and paid for politicians. I mean, all these people have they've been doing nothing but a constant, relentless attack against Trump. When throughout history have we ever seen such a thing against a former president? I mean, I understand you guys have a few more years on me, you know what I mean? But I mean, just to the extent in which they are relentless, will not let up. I mean, what am I missing here?
Well,
because it seems like
this is where
I'm a weirdo.
This is where Chuck and I disagree.
Right.
He thinks the cases were put together designed to fall apart. I think it's just a matter of mass incompetence. And this is a good example of the mass incompetence. When the GSA had it, they hound Trump to get it out of their way. So it gets shipped down to Mar-a-Lago. And then these guys get arrogant and think they've got a case. I don't think it was designed to fall apart. I think it's their incompetence that's causing these things to fall apart.
It could be a little.
I think
if the issue is indeed incompetence, I mean, then I damn well know people that work at my local Circle K that are more capable of running, certain branches of government than these elected individuals.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
I mean, then it doesn't make sense. The incompetence thing, being willfully incompetent versus being just incompetent in general are two different things, and I'm sure we could all agree upon that. But I see the being willfully incompetent as the main issue. It's what's going on. I mean, there are too many politicians that are.
I don't think it's. Well, but I think the people that are being incompetent have the egos that tell them, hey, we're in the administration now. I'm in the top. I've got power. I work for the president. I'm in the DOJ. I can do what I want. I can find ways to screw with my boss's opponent in the next election for brownie points. I think this whole administration, because you look at the people behind the scenes. I mean, this is carryover from Obama, his White House, that are running things. And I think they think they're so smart and they're so good at what they do that they overlook exactly how stupid some of the moves they make are.
Mm.
Well, I'll disagree with you for a brief point.
But
go ahead.
You see, to accept this though, it leads me with a serious problem, and that is that of this massive amount of people that want to go after Trump, what you're telling me is not a one among them seems to have the wherewithal to put together anything that really should stick or that'll work. So you got hundreds of people.
They're trying to set them up to fail. I'm sorry to talk over everybody, but I think my personal opinion, and I'll shut up after this, I believe personally that they are setting the stage for, I mean, you've already seen that I'm putting legislative bills in place, to block him from performing certain actions, such as withdrawal funding to Ukraine. I mean, shoot, it's hard to keep track of everything anymore because there's just too much stuff breaking the news cycle every single day, and you know what I mean. After a certain point, you just can't retain it all. But I mean, they've been placing bills in place in preparations for him being president. You've heard other world leaders talking as if Trump's going to be the next president. Yeah. I mean, they're just, in my opinion, they've been setting the stage, setting the narrative that he will indeed be the next president. But it does seem like they are putting all these little checkpoints in place to make sure that he cannot, to make sure that he's stonewalled at every single avenue, and he is set up to fail. Mm. So I would willingly place a wager that he will become the next duly elected president.
Right.
But perhaps we will see the final fall of this economy. I mean, I'm not trying to be a doom and glimmer, but a doomer or anything like that. But perhaps we will finally see the fall of the United States of America, at least financially.
Yeah. Well,
because that kind of seems what we're headed towards.
But
in my personal opinion and operations.
I got you. And a lot of people share that opinion, but you know what? It's a perfect scenario to set up because you know what? Trump is looking to me like he's definitely going to be the next president. And here's the deal. If he fails and everything goes wrong, he can place all the blame on this stuff. And that's it. It doesn't matter if he made a good decision or not. He can place all the blame on this stuff. But the problem is, thus far, I don't see a competent attack against him. It's funny. It's like, yeah, okay, the media's on him, but they're also using him because this is the only reason why people are tuning in is to watch the drama unfold, okay? And this is what's keeping them alive. I pointed this out, with 2016 when that happened. It basically resurrected the business models of all the digital media, all the broadcast media that was really failing. And that now they had something brand new that they could run with 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. What's going on in the Trumposphere? And they did it. And they did it for years. Now you've had Biden in there. And the fun part is not a single competent attack. I mean, I don't see they're not going to make this thing in New York stick, or they shouldn't. The thing in Georgia falling apart. It seems to me like outside of it being a nuisance, He's on TV every single day, guaranteed time slot. They're following, gavel to gavel on his case in New York. Here we are. Right?
They're just boosting his popularity. I mean, that's why they pulled that stint with him supposedly being barred from attending his son's graduation.
Yeah, but
which was just recently reversed. I mean, it's all just a big public spectacle. It's a big public distraction from something.
And it's doing exactly what, in my opinion, it's designed to do, which is raise up his popularity among the people that are really dedicated to the idea that this is the guy who's fighting the system. And therefore, he's on our side because we're sick of the system. He's sick of the system, and they're going after him because he's actually on our side. So you have the guy, it's like they're attacking him because they're corrupt, and that's all there is to it. And there's absolutely no basis for this, even if there was. But so far, they're presenting nothing but weak cases, fabricated nonsense where they're really having to reach to put together the charges instead of maybe putting together something that could be really prosecutable, something that would demonstrate to people once and for all exactly how corrupt he has been with his businesses or anything else. They're not doing that. They're putting together this convoluted stuff.
To be fair, if you go after him, you got to go after the rest of them. I can't recount the last president that is an innocent individual. You know what I mean? That doesn't deserve to be hung by the neck, in my personal opinion.
Exactly true.
That's one of the things. Yeah. That's one of the big things hanging on this immunity decision that the Supreme Court's deciding right now. They're worried that if they come out and say he has no immunity, then you're going to see people start gearing up lawsuits against Obama for his driving while drone program, and probably go all the way back to Bush. And maybe as far as Clinton.
Keep going.
I can't think of a guy that you couldn't legitimately prosecute for something, but how many of them are ever held accountable after their administrations, during their administrations? How about zero? So, you know what? I think the same thing's going to happen here after the big public spectacle, after a whole lot of hot air. You're going to end up with a guy who has, by grievance, been identified as being on, our side. He's with the people because the system is working against him like it works against us. It's perfect. And he's got constant 24-hour, broadcast privileges where they're talking about him. They're showing clips of him. They're following him to and from court.
He's got his own social media network,
Yeah, well, which succeeds.
He's got True Social, what is he at, 1.4 billion?
But it succeeds only because it is a constant grievance machine. That's the thing.
Well, it's down 9% today because the SEC just hit his auditing firm for True Social or for Trump Social Media. Yeah. They paid
Truth Social,
something like $140,000 in fines. There's an auditing firm that they say submitted fraudulent stuff. They didn't do the audits that they said they did, and it affected over 1,500 SEC filings. So the company has been banned from being an auditor or an accountant in front of the SEC. They paid their fine, but they admitted no wrongdoing. So Truth Social was down 9% today on that news.
Yeah, but here's the deal.
I don't necessarily trust SEC filings or anything like that. I mean, if you look at how they've handled cryptocurrencies in the recent past, I mean, they've demonstrated that they're really not a trustworthy organization either.
Yeah, but here we go with the...
Well, you look at it. Look at this guy. Wait, who was the guy, Sam Bankman-Fried, that just got sent to jail for a minimal amount of time, considering how much money he stole from people?
Massive.
But because he gave a lot of it to the Democrats, they ended up just giving him a slap on the wrist.
Yeah, well, that's
he gave the Democrats a sizable amount of money too.
He did.
And there were a list of all of the donors that received money from him.
But here we are. If you're
they exist on both sides of the party aisle. You know what I mean?
Okay, well, look, again, cost of doing business, right? If you got something that you can build that's going to be worth $1 billion, and apparently this thing is allegedly worth a whole lot more than that, if you got something that's worth $1 billion and you got to, absorb a fine of how much did you say? 100 and something thousand? I mean, that's nothing. Yeah. It's like his contempt fine that he's got, right? $9,000 for being held in contempt recently, wasn't it? And it's like, so what? if the cost,
yeah, but if I were Trump, I would. I heard this today. Somebody had a great idea. Tell them to go down to the court with one of those big, oversized checks that you get when you win the lottery, and walk in the courtroom with it and give it to the judge and say, "Look, here's $20,000. Now I know I owe you $9, but let's just keep the other because I've probably got another 10 this next week. You're going to have to hit me with." I would, just for publicity.
Yeah, since you
I'd plop down $20,000, say, "Here, just put it on my tab."
Since you don't have change for my $20 bill, and I'm going to put this in the swear jar anyway, how about you just keep track and you knock it off of the next swears I'm about to belt out for you? Yeah, of course.
Because if he goes to jail, if they put him in jail for contempt, you might as well hold the election tomorrow, because that could seal his fate as winning, as if he ends up going to jail.
But there you go. See, how is it that by being prosecuted, it actually raises his chances of getting in? That's the point of it, though. That's because exactly what it is. It's perfect.
The point of the whole thing, though, is, and that's where support comes from. He's willing to give the middle finger to the government. And people have been wanting to give the middle finger to the government for years. And it's the petty crap. Yeah, it's the petty crap that people have to put up with every day. The fine for this, the fee for being late with that. It's gotten to the point that people are saying, "Hey, I'll vote for Trump if he flips them off in court." That's all it would take.
Yeah.
For a lot of people to say, "I'm behind."
300. Okay.
Well, again,
he's the main character from 300 catching all the arrows, in a lot of people's minds.
Yeah, if you want to.
Me personally, I can't necessarily disagree with the individual that unfortunately set himself on fire, because that's always been one of my personal thoughts. Is, I mean, if you pay attention to everything that's been going on in this country and also other Western-based civilizations, because you all know that, I mean, it's not just here in the United States that we're seeing the unraveling of our, the fabric of our country, our countries. We're seeing this it's primarily Western-based civilizations in which all this is occurring. But it seems like they're driving us all to, they're forcing the swing of the pendulum. They're forcing it to swing to the authoritarian right. Mm-hmm. So we do actually run the risk of experiencing a full authoritarian dictator type situation, in which we will, unfortunately, most likely gladly accept. To, call me a conspiracy theorist, but in my crazy mind, I can't disagree once again with the guy who set himself on fire. And that's what his flyer said, yeah, that's what he was advocating for, stating. And that's been a thought of mine for a while, and a concerning thought of mine.
I got you.
I still have yet to be proven differently.
Mm-hmm. The beauty of all this, though, is that you guys are totally convinced that it's legitimate when Stone Cold Steve Austin takes on Vince McMahon. And that's a real fight, because, Stone Cold is going to take over the WWE. That's pretty much where you guys are landing here, is that it's a real thing. And I'm telling you, the bad guy is orchestrated to be the bad guy. That's the way it is. But that's my weird
opinion. It is a real thing. I don't understand. I think your comparison is totally off the mark. These people that are bringing these cases, good example of it is in his case in New York over the Stormy Daniels stuff. Mm-hmm. Her lawyer, Trump's lawyer, Cohen, at the time, mm-hmm. recorded a phone conversation when they were talking about this and setting up the deal between Daniels' lawyer and Pecker with the National Enquirer mm-hmm. on how they were going to handle this, killing the story. And in the conversation, and lawyers are going, why did Cohen record his own client? That's something you never want to do. Nobody thought this tape would see the light of day until the FBI raided Cohen's office and happened to find it. Mm-hmm. So now they're using it. And this is what gets me. You have a local prosecutor that now has access to FBI evidence that they took in another case, using it in this case. And when they played it in court, it has basically blown their whole argument. They're trying to show that, yes, Trump talked to Cohen about this, setting up the payments. But what it actually shows is that Cohen was working with the other lawyer and told Trump, we have this handled. You don't worry about it. We'll take care of this. It's blown a hole in the case. It's a real thing. I think these prosecutors sat down and thought they were smart enough to put something together that they could nail him with. And they've gone through the motions. They have gone so far as a local prosecutor to bring in a federal prosecutor on this because of this convoluted connection to election fraud and the accounting. After the FEC already looked at this and said, no, there's no case here. The DOJ looked at it and said, no, there's no case here. Otherwise, you know damn well they would have gone after it if they could have made a case. But they didn't. It's real. I think these people are so arrogant that they think they're so smart that they can pull this stuff off, and they end up, just like today with this tape, blowing a hole in their own case. So the comparison with wrestling, no. Us guys don't think that Stone Cold Steve Austin is going to beat Vince McMahon. You're talking apples and pliers, not even apples and oranges. It is a real thing, and people are being affected by what's going on in this real thing, and it's affecting our election. And if this is the only way they can legally interfere with the election, you can damn sure bet the Democrats are going to take advantage of it. It's a real thing.
Okay. Hey, what can I do? I can't, what would it take to get you to understand my side of it? I don't know. I have no idea how to get you to there.
I don't understand your side of it because you've not made a coherent connection. You're saying that all of these things were done designed to fail. They just want to keep him busy for a while.
That's part of it.
No, these are real things, and they actually think they're smart enough and arrogant enough that they can put the guy in jail. You want the true Teflon Don? It wasn't, what's his name out of New York? It's Donald Trump.
No, I get what the point that Chuck's trying to make. I legitimately do, and that's kind of the point that I was trying to tie into. Maybe I did it poorly. But, sure. This could all be smoke and mirrors. Everything's smoke and mirrors, it seems like. The whole two-party system, and it's all WWE or WWF, depending on which generation you grew up in. It's all, world wrestling. It's all performance theater. Of course, there's no two-party system. Unfortunately, there are a lot of people that aren't awakened to that fact and that still buy, even all this news about Trump or, everything needs to be taken with a grain of salt, realistically. It could all be bullshit, pardon my language. Everything. All we can do is just sit back and kind of observe and see how things unfold. And that's pretty much all we can do. There's literally nothing we can do to affect any degree of change, besides from trying to awaken some people's eyes. And even at this point, I don't know if that's enough. Like I said, I'm not trying to be a dimmer, but I get both of your points. I really do, because I can resonate with both sides.
Okay.
As for which side is right or real, who the hell knows? We're living in such a crime world, as the new term goes. I'm at a loss for words anymore.
Well, so am I, because at the end
it's concerning to have a young child coming up. You know what I mean? That's all I can say.
I know, I got one, and I'm looking at it going, this is beyond ludicrous at this point, and not going to amount to much. Anyway, I'm going to put you on hold. I got another caller, so I'll bring him on and let him roll with what he wants to say. I'm sure he wants to tail on to this. I do believe I got Jimmy James on the line. I've been trying to switch over to you, Jimmy, but it took me a few minutes to let everybody get their points out. So what's on your mind tonight?
Can you hear me all right?
Yeah, outside of the crackling, yeah.
Other number. What?
You're crackling, but I hear you good. So go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, of course, it's real. Chuck, it's not just you. It's everyone who claims to be an alternative figure. You're just attacking Trump a different way than the left-wing media does constantly.
Well, here's the funny part. I wasn't even attacking. You know what I was saying is that they got BS on them. They got garbage on them. They don't have enough to prosecute them, and they're putting forth nonsense. I don't see how that's attacking them, because that's what I'm saying.
All right. Hold on.
Go ahead.
Well, just let me finish, because it's not even so much you, it's so much everyone that I hear that calls themselves an alternative broadcaster.
Well, the majority of those people that are in that category, Jim, just real quick, the majority of the people that I think are in that category anymore are pretty much on the Trump train. The way I see it, I don't hear anybody really going at him. They pretty much bought into the idea that look at the awful system going after Donald Trump, who is obviously somebody who's kind of on our side. That's really what I'm hearing from the alleged alt media that exists at this point. They're on his side. So I don't know where are these anti-Trump or alt media people.
Well, they're on NBC, CBS.
Well, that's not alt media.
CBS,
that's
NPR,
that's not
CNN,
alt media. But that's not
Marxist Socialist NBC.
That's not alt media. That's mainstream corporate media.
Now normal people have to go to the internet and make their own damn networks.
Yeah,
because, it's time to get real. Let's face it. This is socialism and Marxism at work.
Okay.
You don't like how the country's running right now? This is exactly. This is your Democrat Party's philosophies and policies in action. They don't want Trump to stop what they're up to. And of course they're trying 96 damn cases, and you don't think that they really want to put him in jail. Want to know why they can't find anything real on him? Because he's not a damn criminal.
Okay. Well, anyway, there that is. But I want to know where these alt media people are, because I said, who are the alt media? And you gave me MSNBC, ABC. That's all corporate. That's
Ed Opperman, fine. Ed Opperman, Colbert, William Ramsey, everyone that I listen to.
Really?
Every single one of them. I don't listen to Alec, whatever his name is, Jones or whatever. I try to listen to the more reputable people who claim that they have no agenda, and yet they always end up having a damn agenda.
So Opperman's weird politically, because I can never really tell exactly where he's coming from, but he's gone anti-Trump. You think Corbett? I don't think is anti-Trump.
He calls himself a socialist.
Well,
which
right.
I don't get, because Opperman also calls himself a Christian.
Yes.
Does he not know that Marxism does not support religion?
Well, socialism and Marxism are not necessarily the same thing, right? I mean, but look, Opperman, like I told you.
But I said Marxism.
Okay, well, Opperman, I can't explain, I'll tell you that. But Corbett, I don't think is anti-Trump. I don't think he is. He's kind of a sort of anarchist in a way, a polite one, but kind of an anarchist, like yeah.
It seems like every alternative figure who doesn't support Trump, their ultimate, the end game, the glorious thing that they say is, don't, whatever you do, don't vote. Don't participate. It's all rigged. It's all fake. Spread the news. This will be real good for the country. Don't worry about it. We just flew in 50 million people to take your place. This country's headed toward a fall. You better pray to the God of your choice that Trump wins, or else there ain't gonna be a country. We'll be Canada, a fucking tyranny.
Well, I don't know. It seems like we're doomed from every angle because, if Trump wins, I'm told that he's going to be so undermined and so under siege that they're not going to let him get anything done anyway. And if Biden wins, and those are really the only two choices you're going to be allowed to have. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. I found out why they're selling those rubber duckies now, because he's going to be a lame duck president. Get it?
That's why.
And last time he had a Spanish course, and this time he knows who to bring in that knows what they're doing. constitutional lawyers, people who put 50 years into this. Believe me, the bureaucracy's 90. Well, see, here's the problem. Another thing you can't admit. The bureaucracy and the Democrat Party are synonymous. And so are public unions. It's all the Democrats.
Well, I can't proclaim to know much about unions, but it seems to me as though the Democrats and the Republicans utilize the bureaucracy. They both do. So I don't know how it is that, the Republicans are not included in the bureaucracy. Seems like they have to be. And it's Trump who sells rubber ducks. So he's selling rubber ducks because he's going to be a lame duck president himself? That's what he's doing?
Yes.
I think, Chuck, you'd be surprised.
Lame duck. Okay.
Chuck, I think you'd be surprised how one-sided the bureaucracy is.
Really?
And it ain't leaning right. Yeah.
Huh.
And I've only seen that from working for state agencies and working with other government agencies, especially federal agencies. They are inbred with Democrats. That's how people get their jobs. That's how people keep their jobs. And if you're not,
well, let me ask,
especially in the environmental offices.
Okay, well, let me ask an open question then, since I'm apparently ignorant of this. If Republicans try to get anything done, right, in the government, they wind up having to use the very same facilities that the Democrats use, right? They have to use the bureaucracies to get anything done. So don't they by default have to participate with they don't have a separate Republican bureaucracy that, or by another name.
No. What I'm talking about is, when it comes to politicians, they use the same processes. But once these guys come up with a bill, then you've got a bunch of bureaucrats that are making the rules on how the bill is going to be interpreted. And that's where the Democrats do their best work in coming up. Just look at Obamacare. Obamacare was voted on, and then the rules were written. That's why Nancy Pelosi said we have to pass it to know what's in it. Just like this latest bill. Now I take that back. Remember when Obamacare came along, and I forget who it was that made the comment, called Obama a liar in his State of the Union address. He made a comment that Obamacare would not be available to illegal aliens, and he was called a liar. Well, come to find out, Biden's administration, these are the people writing the rules that work for these agencies involved with Obamacare, are now rewriting the regulations to allow it to be offered to illegal aliens. That's what I mean. Yes, the government part, but the Republicans that are in the House and in the Senate have to use certain procedures, the same ones the Democrats use. It's when you start writing the details and the rules on how these bills are going to be carried out where Democrats do their dirtiest work.
So,
right.
And it is a big bureaucracy.
The problem is there's so much unions representing the working man. The problem is that 80% of these so-called unions, this is insane. We have unions representing people that we're paying through with our tax money. How about no? And the reason why they tend to be Democrats, Chuck, is because, they're the biggest. They're the new dealers. They're the ones that made and are constantly enlarging the government. That's the whole Democrat philosophy, traditionally.
So I'm putting you on hold, Jimmy, because the crackling is really, really super loud, and that's why I'm putting you on hold. But I want to look at something real fast because you're talking about the unions, and I wanted to get a barometer here. Maybe the crackling will go away if I put you on hold for a minute. But when complaints about unions and how that's a big problem, it seems to me as though there's only about, 3% of all people working in the country at all work for unions, something like that. Maybe I'm wrong about that number, though. I want to look it up. Go ahead.
Well, yeah, but the problem with unions is this. You have the union leadership, which come out and back Biden. So they're going to throw money towards Biden. You have most of these unions in a lot of these states work under what's called a forced dues system where people cannot elect out of having their dues taken out of their paychecks. They did this in a few states. They changed the rules saying, okay, now all you union members have the option. You can refuse to have your dues taken straight out of your paychecks. And then that then allows them to decide whether they want to pay those dues or not. Or they can withhold those dues and tell management, you guys are spending our money in the wrong place. Now, you've had several unions come out and support Biden, but you just had Trump in the street with a construction worker who's a member of unions come out and say, look, forget what the leadership says. The rank and file are behind Trump. That's the way it's been. That's the way it was with Reagan. That's the way it is with these other Republican presidents. The unions fought forced dues for years until it was taken down to a state level. And people started winning who said, look, I have to be a part of this union to have my job, but I don't appreciate my dues going to support somebody that I don't support, that doesn't support me. So let me make that choice of whether I'm going to pay my money. There's a lot of things a lot of funds that these members pay into for certain things, political funds, et cetera, et cetera. And they wanted to take all this out as a lump sum. And the members fought it, and they won in several states. And that's when the unions started screaming bloody murder. Because now, unions today are nothing more than a money laundering operation for Democrat donations. And it's been that way for years. Decades. It's been that way.
Well, look, let's just say I'm not going to argue any of that because, again, as I said, I'm not, read in on all this. I don't know that much about it. But I do know this much, that the highest number of individuals like this century, the highest percentage of all U.S. workers in general that belong to unions at all is 12%. It's been as low as, I believe, 5%, but in the past century, this is where we're at. Okay, you got between 5 and 12%. But let's go with the high number, or even call it 10%. If you're talking about 10% of all workers,
how many workers?
The whole country.
How much is that 10%? Okay, of the whole country, there's 350 million people here, so 10% of that is 35 million. You think that's enough to swing an election? No.
It's not that high an amount of people that you can't go with the whole population. Not the whole population is not working. You got to remember, there's a whole bunch of.
Well, that's what I'm saying. What is the working population? Any amount, 5 to 10% of any of whatever that amount is. That's a lot of people, and more importantly, that's a lot of money.
Yeah, it's like
to influence elections.
Well, yeah, I'll answer it. It's like, let's see, it's like 15 million people altogether. Okay, something like that, 15 or 16 million. I'm looking at different numbers, different agencies, the U.S. Labor Department, et cetera, and I'm getting a general mean average here. And it looks to me like
15 million people.
15, 16 million people you're talking about that are represented by unions altogether. Again, approximately.
So that's say 10%. Just say 5%. 10% would be 1.5 million. 5% would be what? 750,000 people. That's still a lot of money, and that's enough people to swing an election. 750,000 votes.
Okay, but again, the rank and file who are actually going to vote are not necessarily driven by what their union decides to do, right?
That's true, but their money is being spent. But here's the deal. It's the money.
Yeah.
Their money for the leadership is spending it supporting Biden. The rank and file vote for Trump because they look at their paycheck. They look at what this economy is doing to them.
Yeah. So, of course.
But, yes, you may have influence by the votes, but what is that money doing? Is that money buying votes from other groups of people to support Biden? Is that money effectively affecting how they vote? So even if it's 750,000 people, a portion of those are going to vote Democrat and a portion are going to vote Republican.
Yeah, it's guaranteed.
But that money is all spent on the Democrat side, and how much does it influence other Democrat votes? Quite a bit.
Okay, and we could look at where the money comes from that all goes into this, and the ridiculousness of spending $50 million on a job that only pays $100,000 a year, and all that kind of stuff. Look, I'm just saying that unions, I don't think, are as big a factor as it's not like the whole everything hinges on that, because again,
They're not. They're not.
Yeah, it's a significant
And I agree,
number,
they're not as big a factor as they were decades ago, but they're still a big factor.
No, fair enough. Look, and there's a lot of it. Look at the large corporate donors and the super PACs, which are formed by, we've talked about it many times. Like what were the Koch brothers? Now only one. What was their level of influence, right? And there you're talking about, or the Ford Foundation, in fact, right? The same people, basically, if you take a listen to a list of, this PBS program is brought to you by, and you take a listen to the people that are, paying for the PBS program, okay, guaranteed most of them are huge donors when it comes to political campaigns.
Absolutely.
And agendas.
Absolutely.
But there you have it. So we could talk about the large, I would think that the, union as an influential group is nothing compared to these large corporate donors. When you got, like, say, ExxonMobil, which I always crack up when it's like, that you're watching nature shows and they're sponsored by the oil companies and stuff. I always find that funny. But anyway, or you take a look at, what was that guy with the huge, boring as hell, Vietnam, 5 Nights of Vietnam, Ken Burns, right? The guy who does, the super, super long documentaries is supposed to be America's greatest documentary filmmaker. Puts me to sleep, sucker. But anyway, and terrible, terrible piece on Vietnam he did. Me and Swanson started talking about it. I think we only made it to part 3 out of 5 because we couldn't stand talking about it anymore. It was ridiculous. They were just massaging the whole thing to try and make it look like, well, JFK's responsible for this. Lyndon Johnson was like a poor victim, got kind of drawn into Vietnam. And give me a break. Okay. Johnson was a pay-to-play politician and one of the most prolific criminal politicians ever. And people go, well, he's a Democrat. Yeah, he is, or was. But I don't care what party he was in. He was going for his. It was about him and his agenda and trying to produce a legacy. And that's what he was all about. Whether you're talking about Box 46 or you're talking about the bagmen that were still coming to him when he was vice president. He was all about that. Okay. Creating a legacy and keeping his pockets and his people's pockets full and making sure his wife had plenty of TV channels that she owned. That's what his whole thing was. And if you don't believe me, Lady Bird owned lots of TV channels across the country. Go ahead and take a look at that if you want. It's pretty interesting. But when you take a look at all the interesting scams and insurance fraud and all kinds of stuff Johnson was involved in, which, by the way, all disappeared post-assassination. And again, I'm not one of these guys who blames Johnson for killing Kennedy. I'm just telling you about his actual criminal activity that we know about for sure.
Well, if you think about it now, as much as I disagree with Jim Fetzer, one point that he always brought out was, you look at crime and look at who benefited the most from it. Right. And the one person that benefited the most from Kennedy assassination was LBJ, plain and simple. So
in the short run,
I can't agree with Fetzer, but he does make a good point. You've got to look into things and just how connected was Johnson to the periphery of what went on when Kennedy was taken out.
Right, and he did well in the short run. Now, in the long run, his legacy was destroyed. But, stay tuned on that, right? By the time we get from 1964...
Well, I don't know that it was destroyed because all of the crap that people were flinging out there, was all overshadowed by the passage of the Civil Rights Act. And LBJ took, credit for that, even though it was Republicans that voted in a higher percentage to approve it. Mm-hmm. LBJ took advantage of it. And, so no matter what LBJ does, you can forget trying to down-talk him to a certain degree because he's responsible, according to history, for the Civil Rights Act.
Yeah, right. Even though legitimately the guy was not, into the idea really, even though his public face was supposed to be about that, and he's the champion of the Civil Rights Act.
Oh, he was racist as hell.
Right.
He flat admitted he was not ashamed of his racism, but he said, hey, if we want their votes, we're going to do this.
Yeah, of course. If you think he was all about being happy a meeting with, Dr. King, like, oh, this is a good thing you're doing. That wasn't what it was about. It was about strategically, well, look, that's a pretty big voting block. That's a big voting block.
And I'm sure he muttered under his I'm sure he, under his breath made the comment that, if we were back in Texas, you'd be parking cars at this meeting.
Yeah, right. Exactly. This kind of thing. Or maybe he did say it out loud and people ignored it. It doesn't matter because, again, it was people benefiting off of others' actions. And, well, I guess I got to sit down with the devil because I want his due, and that's the way it was. So, anyway, getting back to the topic at hand, I guess we'll get back around to the callers. But right now, I think it's about time for us to take a break. So I'm going to do that. And hopefully we get Jimmy back on without the crackling noise. I think he switched phones. So we'll hear from him again. And I'd love to hear from you. That's right, you listening. Not me, Pete, not you. But, we're going to hear from you some more before the show's over, too. We got at least 42, 43 minutes left until the Age of Transitions comes on with Aaron Franz live on Ochelli.com. So what you might want to do is call in 319-527-5016 or reach out to me, charles.ochelli on Skype, and I can call you into the show if you ask me to via text. But otherwise, 319-5...
WallStreetWindow.com. Gold, silver, the stock market. WallStreetWindow.com. Perhaps you're invested deeply. Perhaps you're not in deep enough. Maybe you're thinking about getting started. WallStreetWindow.com. Michael Swanson, the brilliant author of The War State, understood these trends professionally for many years, and now he gives you the benefit of his knowledge. WallStreetWindow.com. Go there now. Go there now. Go there now.
Revelation through conversation.
The views expressed by callers, co-hosts, or anyone else who happens to get on the air at Ochelli.com do not necessarily reflect the views of Ochelli.com or Chuck Ochelli, and we are not responsible for any stupidity which might ensue. Thank you.
Taught in schools. Why? The Vietnam War, nuclear bombs and nation building in Southeast Asia. By author Mike Swanson, with new documentation never seen before that'll open your eyes to events that led up to this. Why? The Vietnam War, nuclear bombs and nation building in Southeast Asia, 1945 through 1961. Get your copy today at Amazon.com. Why? The Vietnam War, by author Mike Swanson.
Go ahead, caller.
Yeah, I'm interested in the truth about the JFK assassination.
Right. Well, what do you want to know?
Judy Baker's wild claim, Oswald girlfriend, she knew Ruby and Barry, cancer weapons. Really?
I imagine I could claim I have 4 wheels. It doesn't make me a wagon, but okay.
Oswald was on the kill team and trying to prevent the murder of John Kennedy. Come on now. Has a real expert on the JFK assassination looked into her claim?
Go to Amazon.com. Enter Judith Baker in her own words. You'll get results for a digital copy of a book where Walt Brown utilizes her own words and the known evidence in the case to get at, well, a different perspective, let's say. You can get Judith Barry Baker in her own words from the author himself, signed if you request it by contacting Dr. Brown at KIASJFK@AOL.com. It's a fun book and it actually dissects the many, many fantastic claims. Judith Barry Baker in her own words.
Thank you for all the great information.
Ochelli.com.
The War State by Michael Swanson explains the great national transformation that took place and put the Kennedy presidency in the context of the times and reveals never-before published information about the Cuban Missile Crisis. President Kennedy would not have been assassinated if he had been president 200 years ago. His assassination took place in the context of the Cold War and the rise of the national security state. Before World War II, the United States was a continental republic. In the decade that followed, it became an imperial superpower. Generals such as Curtis LeMay not only wanted to invade Cuba, but knew that there were short-range missiles on the island armed with nuclear warheads that they could not destroy because they were on mobile launchers. Their invasion could have led to a third world war, and they wanted to go to war anyway. The War State by Michael Swanson reveals why and will show you what President Kennedy was up against. For more information, thewarstate.com.
Revelation through conversation.
Get ready for the Ochelli effect.
The live open mic Friday night at Ochelli.com. And as per usual, look, you guys get to say whatever it is you want if you decide to call in and join. And, hey, it is what it is. I guess, how can somebody dispossess others of a preconceived notion? You know, lots of things go on here. Lots of things go on here and lots of conversations. I mean, I'm hoping that people are observing this and getting an idea of what's being said and what's being exchanged here. What do you think? Do you think that all of this stuff is legitimately pretty much, and by the way, you'd have to believe a lot of what the corporate media says in order to understand that they're indeed going after the Trumpster in a legitimate way. You'd have to believe a lot of what they're saying. Only in that much. You don't have to be on their side and be cheering for it. You could be cheering against it. But still, that mainstream media is useful to you. And oh, by the way, win, lose, or draw, Trump is useful as content across the board to everybody. And alt media, I argue there is no alt media. Jimmy James says there's some alt media, and he brought up corporate media telling me about the alt media. But then he qualified other things further and said, what about, Opperman. Opperman I can't explain politically. I never could. And, he's a nice guy. I get along with him. Not everybody does. But he's in a weird spot where he's like a socialist, but also a Christian, but also, he wanted Bernie Sanders to win. Was he virulently or, vehemently against Donald Trump? I don't remember that. But then again, I don't listen to Opperman that much. I don't think Ramsey's against Trump. But I think Jimmy James thinks he is. Anyways, Corbett is against the general system, not really specifically against Trump. And the majority of these people that are out there allegedly as independent speakers, their opinions, which, by the way, they think is the most important thing in the world, whereas I don't think an opinion is the most important thing. I think analysis, breaking things down, showing people stuff that they're not necessarily seeing elsewhere that's not readily available across the entire corporate media stream. That's the usefulness of independent media, not about you have a contrarian opinion. Screw the opinion. Let's get to some things that I'm not being shown elsewhere. Show me the rare information. Show me the real stuff that's happening that the rest of corporate media is either hiding or ignoring. Do that. Then you're an independent media person doing something productive. But generally speaking, all these shows I hear anymore is let's get on, give an opinion based on a couple of loose facts that I might have learned on the internet. That's my opinion, my opinion, my opinion. And now I'm going to bring on some other people who agree with my opinion, and let's all agree together. And that's alt media anymore. So, I don't know, maybe alt media is dead. The dinosaur media should have laid down and died in 2016, but it was absolutely put on life support and has made a miraculous recovery ever after, due to the fact that they had Trump to kick around. Now, whether you think the attacks are legitimate or just a straight business decision, I'll leave that open to interpretation, but I think it's clearly a business decision. If they're not going to profit from it, regardless of what their political view is, they're not going to run with it. They're not going to give you the news that matters if they can give you the news that will keep you tuned in, happy to be hating, or happy to be siding with them, or happy to be doing something where you're getting your opinion echoed back to you. And that's the thing about the listeners of alt media anymore. They don't want to be informed about some rare information, something they never heard of before. They want somebody to just agree with their opinion, and that's all it's about. So it's call and response with opinion and agreement. And the corporate media as well as the independent media are doing the same dance. I'm trying to avoid that. It's not working too well. Got to be honest. I'm not making any great pile of friends doing it this way. I have an honest opinion that goes a little bit into a direction that BP says I can't make the case for it, but it seems to me as though the case is obvious. It's right there. What can you say? Whether I'm correct or not, if the result is the same, was my analysis bad? I wonder about that. Maybe it was. Maybe I just suck at this. Maybe I'm just crazy. Maybe, and it's not about my opinion, but maybe I'm so warped that I can't connect with the reality of the situation anymore. But it seems so unreal to me that I can't explain it any other way except that this is all intentional. And I think we're going to intentionally see the anti-hero rise. We're going to see Trump reinstalled, and win, lose, or draw, he'll blame anything on the deep state, the opposition, which goes far beyond Democrats. Although all the Democrats are in the deep state, others outside of the Democrats are part of the deep state too. And that's his opposition. And so no matter what he does, he now has an out. The deep state was against me. The Democrats were against me. These other people were against me. It's their fault that things went bad no matter what decision I made. So talk about plot armor in the story. I mean, how is that not perfect? Anyway, enough out of me. I want to hear from you, and I want to hear from my co-host, and I'd love some new callers, 319-527-5016. But even if you called in before or you're on hold, we're going to get around to everybody as quick as I can with the last half hour or so. Anyway, B. Pete, let's see. I'm going to check the board here and see who's on. It looks like we got Jimmy and Chris still, so we don't have anybody new. And also Skype, I'm not showing anybody new. I'm Charles.Ochelli on there, by the way. And if you send me a message, I can call you into the show from Skype. But you know what? I got no problem just hanging like this. And with my two callers, and I don't know, what should we do next? I leave it to my co-host to decide. I want him to figure it out. What should we do with the remaining time? Because we're wide open as far as I'm concerned, and I'll give a priority to a new caller. If you show up on the line now, I'm going to put you on ahead of whatever else is going on. But other than that, let's get to it. 319-527-5016, and that hopefully will be the last time I give out that number tonight. So, B. Pete, what should we do now? Should we go back around to everybody? Do you want to, play anything? You want to bring up some stuff? What do you want to do?
Well, I don't know. I've been scanning headlines while you've been talking, just looking at what's going on. We got Kentucky Derby is this weekend, which is the first step of the Triple Crown.
Right.
And there's a 21 horse that's the odds are 20-1. They're saying has a good chance to win this thing because of positioning. And a lot of people don't take this into consideration. The two top horses for this race, one of them has been slammed to start on the inside. The other one is way out at position 17 on the outside. So none of these horses have really run a race where they've been more than 3 lengths behind. But they're looking at the guy in position number, or the horse in position number 7, who is a 20-1 shot, but they think based on his running record, he stands a good chance of taking this thing. So it'll be interesting to see. Other than that, the sports news, we've got the hockey playoffs are going now for the Stanley Cup. Carolina advanced to the second round. They're going to be taking on the Rangers, New York. Mm-hmm. Best of that series is try to move on. Baseball's just getting cranked up. They've already had a lot of arguments about the sorry umpiring that's been going on the past couple seasons. We'll see if they do something about that.
How's that pitch
football,
clock? How's the
let's
pitch?
See, most of the
B. Pete, how's that pitch clock working out in baseball? How's the pitch clock working out?
I've not really kept up on that. Last year, to me, it helps, but then again, it's you're infringing on what baseball always was. If the pitcher wanted to sit there and keep throwing to first base or trying to pick somebody off or take his foot off the rubber and pick his nose. That's baseball. They're trying. They started playing with the rules too much. It's not even enjoyable anymore for me. A lot of it.
Okay.
And it's a shame. They're getting away from what baseball was to try to speed up the game. The whole point of baseball is there's no clock. It's innings. You do what you can to get through it. So this pitch clock, I don't know. It didn't ever make sense to me. I hope they get rid of it.
Mm-hmm. Well, I feel that way about the designated hitter. I always thought it was extremely valuable to have the pitcher step in the box. But you disagree with me on that. You like the designated hitter, don't you?
I like it in the American League, and I think it adds something to the World Series when they alternate each year, whether they're going to use the DH or not, or whether they're going to use the DH in the parks for the American League and not use it in the National League. It puts a nice twist on it, but the DH... the DH is there for one purpose. He's batting fourth. He's cleanup. Load him up, let the DH come on and handle it. Mm-hmm. Plus, it saves your pitchers. Pitchers I don't know. It seems to me that it helps save their arms and that they're not having to get out there and swing a bat. Although, if they did have to get out there and swing a bat, would it count on the length of time that they're going to be on the mound because they exhaust themselves and you're putting in a relief and the guy's arm lasts longer? Who knows? I like the DH. I like the big hit. Everybody loves a dinger, so.
Now, I understand that, but I've always appreciated the idea that you face the consequences if you got to step in that box and you're partially responsible. You know what I mean? Because otherwise you could do a spectacular job and only give up one run, but the rest of your team can't, bat a run in and you lost. You know what I mean? This way you can actually literally take your own fate into your hands as a pitcher. I like it. And also if you decide to throw at people, which nobody does anymore because everybody recognizes that they got $1 million investments in themselves, being on the field. They don't play like that anymore. Nobody plays hard like that anymore,
Yeah, they do. Don't believe that fallacy. They throw at each other all the time. Yes, they do.
Well, I haven't seen it. I haven't seen a lot of controversies like that or, bench clearing and stuff like I don't see that happening as much as it used to. I mean, maybe it's my imagination. Anyway, continue on. I didn't mean to interrupt your sport, but I want to know what you thought about the pitch clock, because to me that just seems, I don't know, like undue pressure on the game. And I don't know. I haven't watched it since they put it in, and I almost don't want to because I'm afraid it's going to be ruined. Yeah.
It's like in football. They're changing the kickoff rules again. They want to come up with this idea where you place your guys on the line ahead of your kicker, or you place your guys all the way down the field in the area that it's going to be received for your kicker. They've changed kickoff rules so many times because guys keep booting it through the end zone. They end up starting on the 20. So, okay, they changed it. We'll make it worse. If you boot it in the end zone, they get 5 extra yards, start on the 25. Football's gotten to the point now that you can't kick the ball, you can't touch quarterback, and you got to be careful how you catch it. Yeah, or you're getting, some penalty. It's crazy. And it's every sport is starting to get into it. They really haven't gotten into the basketball that much. I guess that one's simple enough that there's really not a lot to play with there.
Well, I mean, basketball, if you start screwing with basketball, I mean, what would be the point, right? Basketball is about the interplay, the interaction, the live action of it. Like, that's why I always feel weird about them saying, oh, there's a strategy and whatever. It has to change every second in basketball. You know what I mean? You don't have setups the way you do in a lot of other sports where you can it's got a different dynamic. It's its own dynamic. You know what I mean?
I've always wondered why they haven't raised the rim. Now that people can dunk, 5'8" can dunk. I mean, we've got some super athletes playing out there. We've got guys. Seth Curry, he's known for 3 points from midfield. Let's say, he's an artist. He knows the 3-point shot. He can dunk it just as much as the rest of them. So why not raise the rim, make it more challenging? When your average height is 6'9", but move the rim up a little bit. You haven't seen them touch that one.
Yeah, they are awfully tall, and I do like hockey as well. But see, they did screw around with hockey a little bit, but hockey is so confusing to a lot of American audiences, they don't know it. But they changed a lot of stuff in hockey at one point. I don't know, hockey's one of those things that you can get away with messing with, I think. But this thing with the pitch clock with baseball, I don't know. It just seems like I know there was a problem there with the games taking too long, and I get it. But at the same time, you're changing the flow. I don't know. It's just, to me, it's a little too weird. Anyway, go on.
Part of the problem was the games were taking too long on TV. The guy sitting in the stands is paid for a ticket. He doesn't mind how long the game goes on because he's made it a commitment to go and actually attend the game.
Right.
He's there at the park because of what the park does. It's this stupid commercialism that is, oh, well, that's taking too much TV time. We're losing out. We're having to preempt programs and move them back and slip them back, which is affecting our advertising. Well, screw that.
And the overwhelming majority, but the overwhelming majority of people that are going to watch that game are going to watch it at home, 1. 2, that is where their money is. And if they are running over, there's a lot of people that, I'll ask them, you want to sit down and watch a game with me, during the playoffs or whatever, and they're not, necessarily into baseball. They'll watch anything else, and they go, baseball game's so long. And I go, well, realistically, an NFL game goes about the same amount of time. I mean, I know it's rigidly timed, but by the time you're done with the timeouts, the penalties, the breaks, honestly, it takes about the same amount of time anyway. You got to commit a good 3 hours to watching a full game, right? And baseball runs about that average, but I don't know. For some reason, there's a lot of people who are kind of like, nah, it's too long. It takes too long. So I don't know. But to me, it's a different flow. It's a different mindset, and nothing wrong with it. Anyways, let's keep moving so that we get to the rest of the callers before we're done, or we get to the callers again before we're done. I want to move along. So what else you got in the news? I mean, outside of a little bit of sports, unless there's more sports news, the Triple Crown and the horse racing, I don't know. I could never get into that too much either. I mean, I don't mind betting on it, but honestly, I don't know. There are some people that sort of follow it, and they're not even betting on it. So I don't know what the deal is there. They just, I don't know. Maybe they just love horses. We don't have like a proposed winner that's like expected to take everything this year or something, right?
Well, you got a couple favorites. There's two listed. Let's see if I can pull them up. Let's see which farms are out of. The big thing about the Kentucky Derby, well, the Triple Crown, the Belmont Stakes, Kentucky Derby, and the Preakness is the pageantry that goes along with it, the partying. Okay. Horse racing at one time was a big money venture for a bunch of people in Kentucky. And so they built up all this pageantry around this race. You've got, I think, 6 or 7 races before the actual Derby, where farms are bringing their horses out, trying to get them some racing exposure to move up the ladder so that maybe they can be in the next Kentucky Derby. So it's a whole different mindset, and it's more of a party atmosphere. They'll party for 3 days for a race that takes 3 minutes. Right. That's the funny thing about it. I'm trying to find. Let's see, where is it?
Well, with about 14 minutes left, let's go back around to Chris, see if he's got anything he wants to throw in, and then
sure.
Whoa, what happened there? I heard a loud noise. You okay?
Yeah, I'm fine. Okay. All I said was sure.
Okay, no, you're sure, like blasted through. I don't know. I got some inconsistent sound issues here. It's my stuff probably. I got something wrong. I gotta straighten that out. But all of a sudden, this really loud noise. I thought something happened to you. All right. Anyway, let's check with Chris and see what's going on there. So you're there, right?
Hey. Yes, sir.
All right. So anything else you want to throw in, or you want to talk sports? Whatever's on your mind. Go ahead.
Now I want to take something in an entirely different direction. What are y'all's opinion on the new registration or the new laws in place in terms of keeping beef cattle with the electronic ear tags that was just passed in the last omnibus? Do you think that there's some nefarious purposes behind that, or? I mean, it's just so coincidental, the timing is, with the H5N1 where it's supposedly cross-contaminating with the beef cattle industry. Are you familiar with what I'm talking about?
A little bit. Beef.
Yeah.
Good.
I heard some guys talking about it here in this state because, cattle is one of our agricultural pursuits, so it's more hogs and chickens and turkeys than cattle. But their complaint is that it's going to be added cost to the farmer. It will give the government the government wants the ability to track every cow that goes through market, which is, I mean, that's a nice. It's a nice. Good effort, but I don't know that they're going about it in the right way. Usually when cattle show up on the yard, they've got a tag in the ear so that they can identify them. In fact, some farmers, I heard a story the other day, somebody was talking about they used to farm and their uncle thought that people were stealing their cows and swapping tags in the ears. So he actually went back to branding as a way to identify his so that he could keep up with them. But it's a high cost that they're trying to implement, and a lot of farmers are tired of the government coming up with these policies that just cost them more money and more hassle to try to keep up with the paperwork.
Yeah, I don't know. It's a weird thing.
You don't think that there's a possibility of that there's a little bit something else going on there? I mean, just,
Oh, I think there is. If there's
I've got a conspiracy theorist mind. Yeah,
but if there's not at the moment, there will be. Man. Yeah, I agree with you. They're up to something. There's a reason that they want to do this.
You guys are both.
Well, there's a reason they want to do this, but they're not giving us all the reasons. The ulterior motives they're not going to mention, and I know having this data and being able to manipulate it the way government is, there's going to be something nefarious come out of it, without a doubt.
Well, I'm wondering what it means for the milk, for that part of the industry, right? Because I mean, this industry's really gotten weird over the past few years. There was a bunch of podcasts that all of a sudden started coming out about the beef industry and what's happening, and them talking about the bird flu and more recent problems with infection, and this was really about trying to protect people from infected beef stocks getting out there so they could figure out where they came from and shut things down in case some bad meat started getting to the market, which look, on the face of it seems to be a decent endeavor, but at the same time you wonder what exactly is all going to come of this. There's always the consequences that are never part of the proposal whenever stuff like this happens. And people in different industries always resist this stuff, sometimes rightfully so, and other times I don't know, maybe it's just they don't want the change or to try to adapt to a new price point because they got something new they got to adapt to that's going to cost them. So obviously they're going to pass along the costs. And how do you do that? How do you adjust for it? There's a lot to it, man. I don't claim to be an expert on this either. But what do you think is the?
I got to unload on you. Let me know when you want me to.
I'm just about ready to turn to you and ask you. What is it that you think is the nefarious end of this? What do you think is the evil agenda underneath? What's your idea about it? Because I have I'm sort of lukewarm on this whole thing. What is your thoughts?
You recall hearing any nefarious things about the PCR testing?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, well that's the same. They're utilizing the same testing methods with this supposed contaminated milk. Which they're not finding complete pathogens. They're finding particulates. Which they're claiming. They're kind of backtracking a little bit, or at least they did for a minute.
Okay.
But they're still running with the agenda. It seems like, and I understand that I might sound a little crazy, but once again, they're utilizing PCR testing for testing the milk, and if you understand how faulty that testing method is, and how you can just pretty much, if you want to find something while using a PCR test, you can find whatever the hell you want. I mean, you amplify it up, cycles. Well, and the original inventor of the PCR test, guess what? That son of a bitch mysteriously died, and actually mysteriously died in 2019. Prior to the release of COVID-19, or whatever the hell however you want to phrase it. But that individual conveniently died,
right? And
beforehand was on record, saying that it was, this is not a testing method for, identifying, diseases or pathogens within an individual. I mean, it was intended for something entirely different.
Yeah, I recall that.
If you want to find a cancer cell in an individual, you can find find a cancer cell. In every single one of us, because we all have cancer cells. That doesn't mean we have cancer.
No, absolutely. But we have matter of fact, if you do the right kind of tissue, if you do the right kind of tissue test on almost everybody's lungs, you could find, bubonic plague if you wanted to. The point is that, look, I want to know, because I don't understand the connection, and maybe, again, it's something I missed, but, what is the connection between the tracking specifically, though, and the PCR test? I mean, what did I miss here regarding the PCR test? Because I saw stuff about this, and they were talking about, if they come up with something, then they'll at least know what the source was, if it comes up. I didn't see, it's sort of like, cart or horse, which one is going first here? How does this work out that it's a problem? So somebody decides to do that. What would they be doing it for? To shut down the beef industry in general, or to shut down specific?
Well, call me crazy, but you heard. I'm sure you've heard the words out of the what is it? The gilded horse's mouth, or gifted horse's mouth, however the phrase goes. But like Klaus Schwab originally said, you'll eat eat the bugs. I mean, that's pretty much what all this stuff, in my opinion, really.
You got to remember too. Remember too that they're blaming cattle for this, for all these ozone or all these greenhouse gases too. So.
Well, what was it?
Cow farts. Yeah, they make the world get so much warmer.
Right, cattle
That'll
farts.
Eliminate those bastards.
Cattle farts are destroying the ozone or whatever. Yeah. No, look, but here's the thing: when it comes to it, there is an environmental impact to ranching the cattle, and when you keep areas that are just grassland and you don't let them grow wild, it causes certain things in certain areas and stuff. I mean, it's a very complex issue, but no, I was just curious. You're saying in general though, this is like the let's eliminate the beef industry so that people are going to have to resort to something else for their protein. That's the idea.
Beef and chicken.
Oh, beef and chicken.
It doesn't just apply to industrial farmers. It applies to just people that have if you have a member of the bovine family that's capable of reproducing. Yep, you need to be on the registry. You need to have them tagged. That way they can track you.
Okay. Well, you know what?
Track down. Or track you, however you want to perceive it.
I got you. What's crazy to me is that, honestly, though, I'll tell you something. I mean, I'm not for shutting down the beef industry or anything like that. I eat meat, and I don't apologize for it. It is what it is. And but the thing about the chicken industry, though, to be honest with you, every time I turn around and look at packaging or the way that they handle these things, the animals themselves, the way this is done, especially on the industrial level, the commercial farming level, quite frankly, I have a hard time with a straight face fighting against people that want to shut down the chicken industry. Because, I mean, it just seems to be rather badly run. There is constant contamination and problems, and they pump these animals full of crap.
Well, I mean, if you look at the specific chicken breed, and this coming from a guy that raises chickens, that's a shit. What is it? I'm failing to recall the actual name of the breed, but there's a specific breed of chickens that you utilize for meat bird production.
Yeah.
Which you can turn them over in 8 weeks. 8 weeks. That's all it takes. Right. 8 weeks. I mean, they get so. I mean, all you got to do is keep feeding them, and by the end of the 8 weeks, it's a specific breed, and they're not a natural breed. I mean, I have yet. I can't bring myself to raise them either. I raise my chickens naturally.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I raise natural breeds, and I'll breed my own chickens too, but no, the ones that you're referring to, I mean, the ones that we generally buy in the grocery stores, that's a species that we've mutilated over time, through genetic manipulation. No different than like Chihuahuas or whatever. You know what I mean?
Well, through genetic, right? Well,
but they're ready for harvest by 8 weeks,
right?
And by that 8 weeks, they're so fat that they can't walk around. They will eat in place.
Yeah, exactly.
Shit in place. I mean, you literally have to move them on your own.
Well, see, and that's the thing.
I blame it on the wing industry.
Even in the case, even in the case of, like, say, pigs, and pork is another one of these things where the meat is, is always questionable. It's problematic. Here's the truth. If pigs were not contained the way they are, if they were wild pigs, the old expressions about how pigs like root in their own feces and this and that, all true, but it's because of the way they're confined. When you have wild pigs, they're not the same kind of animal. The meat doesn't turn out the same way. It's not as dirty. There's a proper way to handle chickens and proper breeds for chickens. But the majority of what gets out into the market right now is a horror show. Between the hormones they pump into them, like you said, these animals, if they're in a condition where they can't walk and they're just crapping on themselves and sitting there waiting for somebody to come along and please kill me, because I'm so bloated from the garbage that's in my system and the way I've been bred. I mean, it produces meat. You are what you eat. You're eating a crippled, horrified, terrible thing. And then you wonder why people are sick from their diets. Chicken is actually, again, and I do eat chicken still, but it's like a dangerous food the way it's being produced at this point. So, I mean, I'm not against it.
If I already eat one of my chickens, it's not dangerous. Yeah, man. I mean, my chicken's free range all day. I'm on just under 3 acres. I mean, my chicken's free range.
I believe you.
I give them a little scratch grains and layer feed, during the evening time before I lock them up. But, I mean, throughout the morning and afternoon, they're running around in my yard, and they're eating bugs. They're scratching, eating natural stuff, and if a predator takes them out, and so be it. I mean, that's why I kind of, I always try to overcompensate in my flock numbers. You always accommodate for a certain amount of loss.
Right.
It's unfortunate, but it is what it is. You know what I mean?
A dog or a coyote might come along and all that. Yeah.
My birds are all edible.
No,
they're
I
good
got
for
you.
you.
But what percentage? But here's the thing. What percentage? Hang on a second.
You got to give some.
What percentage of the chicken out there on the market, though, do you think is like yours as opposed to the other crap I'm talking about? Because clean chicken. There you go.
None whatsoever.
You see what I mean?
All these are Frankenstein mutations of a chicken, and I wouldn't advise eating the things.
Right. I mean,
they've got so many. Of course, they got so many hormones pumped into them, and they've been genetically modified to where. No, hell no, I wouldn't want to touch them.
A super practical point here, and by the way. Right, Chris, I'm gonna knock you off the line for now because I just realized that we've run out of time. But really quickly with this chicken thing, is that frankly, again, it makes me sick. I'm sure there are people out there that raise decent chickens and all that, and that's okay. And you're one of them. Cool, that's great. But the majority of what's out there on the market is so horrifying that, I mean, again, take a look at a breast of a chicken in a store somewhere, and now imagine the rest of that bird. These things are not the normal size of a chicken. It's there for efficiency. It's there so you got poundage on the meat. You got you got weight on the bird and all that. But frightening the way these things are being produced, and we're eating this stuff that's being produced in an unnatural way. And what do you expect but unnatural results? Pete, we've kind of run out of time, but I'm going to give you the final word because I lost track of the clock there, and here we are at the end. I'm sorry. So go ahead, man. Throw in whatever you want.
General information, the organic chicken market outlook up to 2033. They're predicting that by 2033, they'll have 14.7% of the market with a value of over $14.5 billion. So it is growing.
Well, good thing, because, again, even I can't eat the eggs. I mean, that's the way it is. Jimmy, I'm sorry I didn't get back around to you. I totally ran out of time, but coming up next on Ochelli.com will be The Age of Transitions with Aaron Franz. I want to thank Chris for calling in, Jimmy James for calling in, and you guys for listening. Oh, also, a big thanks to my co-host, who is here almost every single week and has been for years. Let's never forget. Pete puts up with me all the time, every Friday. So that in and of itself is an accomplishment. Thank you, my brother. And we're going to get into more stuff as the weeks go on. I might actually have
going to Chuck Ochelli.
When you're Chuck Ochelli, you know it's Chuck Ochelli.
You are about to embark upon the great crusade. The eyes of the world are upon you. The hopes and prayers of liberty-loving people everywhere march with you. In company with our brave allies and brothers in arms on other fronts, your task will not be an easy one. Your enemy is well-trained, well-equipped, and battle-hardened. He will fight savagely, man to man. The tide has turned. The free men of the world are marching together to victory. Good luck. And let us all beseech the blessing of Almighty God upon this great and noble undertaking.